Why are younger women suddenly into older men? Not just a few of them, a lot of them. Quietly, boldly, secretly, consistently. It's not about sugar daddies. It's not about gold digging. And no, it's not some weird daddy issue thing. It's something deeper, more primal, more psychological. And if you're a man over 35, you might not even realize the kind of power you're walking around with. See, while younger guys are chasing, flexing, and performing, the older man, the calm one, the centered one, walks in with presence and pulls her attention without saying a word. She can feel it. His energy is different. He's lived, he's learned. He doesn't play games because he's not a boy anymore. And that, right there, is what gets her attention. Today, we're breaking it all down. The psychology, the real-world signals, the Stoic edge that separates the men from the noise. So if you're wondering why women are turning toward older men now more than ever, get ready, the truth might just change how you see yourself. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel right now. This isn't just entertainment. This is strategy for men who move with purpose. Let's get into it. Number 1. She feels safer with him. Let's get one thing straight. Safety isn't just about locking doors and walking her to the car. It's emotional. It's energetic. It's invisible, but she feels it immediately. And that's where older men have the edge. When a younger woman is around an older man who's grounded, calm, and composed, something inside her relaxes. Her body picks it up before her mind can explain it. Because he's not fidgeting. He's not checking his phone every 2 seconds. He's not trying to prove himself with jokes, compliments, or flexes. He's just there, steady, relaxed, and in full control of himself. And that, my friend, makes her feel safe. Not just safe from harm, but safe from pressure, safe from judgment, safe from games. She doesn't have to decode texts. She doesn't have to play cold just to keep his interest. She doesn't have to carry the emotional weight of leading the dynamic. You'd be surprised how many women are exhausted from dating guys their own age. Guys who say one thing, do another. Guys who don't know what they want. Guys who confuse intensity with connection. So when an older man steps in, someone who's lived, learned, and no longer plays, she feels like she can finally breathe. It's like switching from choppy radio static to smooth jazz. Now here's the Stoic angle. The reason she feels safe isn't just age, it's inner stillness. Stoicism trains a man to control what's within and release what's not. And a man who's practiced that for years, he becomes a fortress, emotionally stable, unshaken by chaos, present in discomfort. That's the kind of man she knows won't overreact. He won't try to win every argument. He won't storm out when things get messy. He'll listen, think, respond, not explode. That's rare. And rare makes women look twice. Rare makes them stay longer. Rare makes them trust. Now let's talk about presence. An older man who's done the inner work doesn't need to fill the silence. He can sit across from her, say very little, and still make her feel deeply connected. Because it's not about the words. It's about the energy behind the silence. His eyes are focused. His body language is open. He doesn't flinch when she tests him, and she will test him. But instead of reacting, he smiles. Maybe tilts his head, and she instantly knows this man isn't shaken easily. That's safety. That's attraction. And here's something else. He knows how to make her feel feminine. Younger guys often compete with her energy. They match her drama, match her emotion, match her fire. But a Stoic man, he balances it. She brings the heat, he brings the calm. She's chaos, he's structure. And suddenly, she doesn't feel like she has to lead anymore. She doesn't feel like she has to manage everything. She gets to relax into the moment. And when a woman can relax, she connects. The truth is, women don't always need excitement. Sometimes they crave stability. Not boredom, not dullness, but that unspoken knowing. This man can handle me, and himself. That knowing builds trust. And trust is the foundation of emotional intimacy. That's why women choose older men, not for the money, not for the image, but for the experience of being around a man who feels like solid ground. And here's the crazy part. She may not even be able to explain it. If you asked her, she might say something like, "He's just different. He makes me feel calm." But what she really means is, "I feel safe being myself around him. I can drop my armor, and that feels so damn good." Comment, "I create calm." If you've ever made a woman feel safe just by being still. We're just getting started, and what comes next will make you see her attraction in a whole new way. Number 2. He knows exactly what he wants. There's something undeniably attractive about a man who doesn't hesitate. He walks into a room and doesn't need to scan the crowd for validation. He doesn't fish for attention. He doesn't stumble over his words trying to impress. He just knows, and that makes her lean in. You see, most guys, especially younger ones, are still figuring themselves out. That's not a bad thing. It's natural. But when it comes to attraction, uncertainty kills it. Why? Because women feel it. They read it instantly. The hesitation, the approval seeking, the please like me energy. It drains them. But when an older man sits across from her and says exactly what he wants, calmly, clearly, with no need to justify it, she feels something shift. She doesn't have to guess. She doesn't have to decode his mixed signals. She knows. This man is direct. He's not playing around. And if he chooses me, it actually means something. Now here's where the psychology kicks in. Women are biologically wired to look for certainty in a partner. Not just financial security, but emotional clarity. She wants to feel like the man in front of her can lead himself first before he ever tries to lead her. So when he looks her in the eyes and says, "I'm not looking to play games," or "I know what I bring to the table, I'm not here to convince you," he doesn't just say the words. He backs it with calm, grounded presence. That's rare, and it stands out immediately. Now, here's the Stoic angle. Stoicism teaches one of the hardest disciplines, clarity through self-mastery. You don't just wander through life reacting to things. You choose. You strip away the noise, the distractions, the ego trips. You know your principles. You know your standards. And you act not to impress, but because you're aligned with your own inner compass. And let's be honest, most men haven't done that work yet. So when a younger woman meets an older man who's already been through it, the career misfires, the broken relationships, the ego deaths, and came out the other side with clarity, she feels it immediately. It's like talking to someone who's read the book of life 3 times, while everyone else is still on chapter 2. He doesn't argue for his worth. He just is. That kind of certainty creates something very specific in her. Submission. Not in the controlling way, but in the trust-driven, respect-filled way. The kind where she stops testing, stops pushing, and starts letting herself soften around him. Because she knows, if this man is this sure of himself, he won't be shaken by me. And that means she's safe to feel, safe to open, safe to be feminine. Because he's already masculine, not in performance, but in clarity. This is also why indecisive men drive women away. The endless, "I don't know what I want" messages. The fear of rejection. The approval seeking. It's not cute, it's exhausting. But the man who says, "I like you, let's do this," and doesn't panic when she hesitates, he's attractive without even trying. Because again, certainty is rare, especially emotional certainty. And the older man who owns his truth doesn't over-explain and doesn't flinch when challenged. He's not just desirable, he's chosen. Comment, "I know now," if you're done hesitating and ready to move like a man who knows his path. Stick around, because what's coming next will flip the way you see power and attraction. Number 3. His calm energy turns her on. Here's something most guys never understand. You don't have to be loud, flashy, or dominant to turn her on. Sometimes what gets to her the most is your silence, your stillness, your calm. See, we live in a world that rewards noise. Men think they have to perform, overtalk, or show off their achievements just to be noticed. But to a woman who's tuned in, especially one who's emotionally mature, that energy is exhausting. What she really craves is contrast. And that's where an older man stands out. He doesn't get pulled into the chaos. He doesn't overreact when things don't go his way. He doesn't need to prove himself with volume. He just sits in his body, owns the room with stillness, moves slowly, speaks intentionally, and she feels it. Not with her mind, but with her nervous system. Because feminine energy, true feminine energy, is constantly scanning for one thing: can I relax around this man? And the moment she feels your nervous system is calm, yours, not hers, she starts to melt. It's biology. It's evolutionary. She's drawn to stability. Think about it. The man who stays composed when she's emotional. The man who keeps his pace when the world rushes. The man who doesn't react when she tries to provoke. That man radiates sexual gravity because she knows he's not emotionally chaotic. He won't break under pressure. He can lead her through the storm without becoming the storm. That's rare, and that's wildly attractive. Now, let's bring in Stoicism. Stoic philosophy teaches you to master your internal state, to be unmoved by external noise, to respond instead of react, to remain clear-headed even in discomfort. That's not just a mental practice, it's felt through your energy. So when a Stoic man walks into a space, people don't notice him because he's loud. They notice him because of how still he is, how rooted, how unaffected. And women, they feel it strongest. Here's why. Most women are constantly surrounded by erratic male energy guys who interrupt, talk over them, chase too hard, or crumble under pressure. But when a woman encounters a man whose vibe says, "I'm good," no matter what, she doesn't just respect it, she's drawn to it. Because calm energy isn't just about mood, it's a form of dominance. Not the aggressive kind, but the grounded, powerful kind that says, "I know who I am. You're welcome to join or walk away. Either way, I won't lose myself." That right there is the deepest turn on. Now let's make this practical. You don't have to meditate on a mountain or quote Marcus Aurelius. But when she's talking, actually listen. When there's tension, stay composed. When you feel triggered, breathe before you speak. These small acts of control add up. They tell her, this man is solid. And trust me, if a woman has dated unstable guys, chaotic boys, or insecure men, your calm will feel like water in the desert. She won't be able to name it at first. She'll say, "There's something about you." But what she's really picking up is your nervous system. Calm, clear, steady. That's what makes her drop her guard. That's what makes her trust you in her most vulnerable moments. And that's what makes her crave more of you, not because you impressed her, but because you centered her. Comment, "I lead calm," if your energy speaks louder than words. The next part, it hits even deeper. Don't miss it. Number 4, she's tired of boys who waste her time. Let's be real, women aren't just attracted to older men because of age. They're exhausted, mentally, emotionally, romantically. They're tired of situationships, tired of vague texting, tired of men who want access to their bodies, but have no idea what to do with their hearts. And when she's been through that cycle a few times, she starts to crave something different, something deeper, something more intentional. Enter the older man. Now, this isn't about having more money or a better car. It's about something far rarer. Time discipline. See, a man who's been through enough life knows his time is currency. He's not throwing it around for cheap dopamine. He's not entertaining drama just to feel needed. And he's definitely not chasing women who don't value presence. He's focused, selective, and that is new for her. Because the truth is, younger guys waste time without even knowing it. They breadcrumb. They flirt with no follow-through. They say, "I miss you," without ever making plans. And she sees through it now. She knows when a man is keeping her around out of boredom, not interest. She knows when he's afraid of commitment but too cowardly to say it. So when she meets a man who makes his intentions clear, not forcefully, but confidently, she feels like she can finally stop guessing. And when she can stop guessing, she can start feeling. Now, let's talk about the masculine-feminine polarity here. A woman operates best in her feminine when she feels held by decisive direction. She doesn't want to lead the whole connection. She wants to respond, flow, relax into your structure. But boys don't give her that. They give her confusion. They give her inconsistency. They give her empty effort. An older man, on the other hand, says, "I'm here for something real. If you are too, let's go. If not, I respect that. I'm not here to waste either of our time." That level of clarity, it earns respect instantly. Now, here's where Stoicism ties in. A Stoic man knows that wasting time is wasting life. He doesn't chase emotional highs. He doesn't panic when someone walks away. He stands firm in his standards and only invites what aligns with them. That kind of focus doesn't just protect his energy, it commands hers. Because for the first time, she's with a man who won't fold under pressure, who won't bend just to be liked, who won't stay where he isn't truly wanted. And that tells her, this man values his life too much to play. And when she senses that, her own behavior changes. She stops testing. She stops playing hard to get. She stops pretending she doesn't care. Why? Because he's giving her the gift of clarity, and clarity invites truth. This is also why so many women say, "I wish men would just be honest about what they want." End one. But when she says that, what she really means is, "I'm tired of wasting my time on men who don't even know what they want." The older man has an answer, not a script, not a game, just a clear, masculine presence that says, "You're either in or you're not, but I'm not here to entertain confusion." And that's what she's been missing. Not more romance, not more attention, but more purpose. So when you show up with that kind of intentional energy, you're not just attractive, you're refreshing. You remind her that love doesn't have to be a maze. That connection doesn't have to be complicated, and that her time, like yours, deserves respect. Comment, "I protect time," if you've stopped wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. Stick with me because what's next reveals why silence can be louder than anything you say. Number 5. His silence speaks louder than their noise. Let's paint a picture. You're in a crowded room. Everyone's talking loud, fast, trying to dominate. Stories, bragging, opinions, a constant hum of competition. And then he walks in. An older man. He doesn't try to out-talk them. He doesn't interrupt. He just takes a seat and stays quiet. But suddenly, people notice. Heads turn, voices lower, because somehow his silence carries more weight than all their noise. That's the power of a man who doesn't need to perform. Women feel this instantly. Most men chase attention, they speak to be seen. But an older, grounded man, he's already seen what that gets you. Nothing real. So he speaks when necessary, and when he does, people actually listen. His silence isn't emptiness. It's presence. It's confidence that doesn't need confirmation. And to a woman who's dated boys, addicted to attention, who've overshared, over-explained, and overcompensated, his stillness is magnetic. Because in a world where everyone's trying to be loud, stillness is a flex. Now here's the psychology. Silence creates tension, and tension builds attraction. But not the awkward kind of silence. We're talking about the intentional kind. The kind where she looks at you, and you don't rush to fill the space. You let it breathe. You hold eye contact. You watch her reaction not in a creepy way, but in a calm, controlled way. That silence, it draws her in, because she's used to men who try too hard, men who talk just to prove something, men who fear silence because they fear rejection. But when she sees you comfortable in quiet, she starts wondering what else you're not afraid of. What you're hiding, what you're thinking, what you'd be like when the lights go off and it's just energy between two bodies, not words. It gets under her skin in the best way. Let's go deeper. In Stoic philosophy, silence is tied to control. It's the practice of restraint, the wisdom to observe before reacting, to listen fully, speak selectively, and move only when movement matters. So when you're silent, you're not weak. You're showing that you don't need the spotlight. You're rooted in something deeper than attention. And guess what? That unnerves people who are used to chaos. They'll call you mysterious. They'll call you distant. But women with emotional intelligence, they'll call you a man, because silence signals strength, and strength is sexy. Here's a scenario. She's venting. She's emotional. She's spinning in circles. A younger guy might interrupt, try to fix it, talk over her. But you sit back, you breathe, you wait, and when you do speak, it's just one sentence, calm, clear, steady. She melts, not because of what you said, but because you didn't get pulled into her storm. You anchored it. That silence, it told her everything she needed to know. You don't fear emotion. You don't rush to control it. You hold it with presence, not panic. And that presence becomes unforgettable. She starts associating your quiet with safety, with power, with mystery. She replays the moments you didn't speak, because they spoke volumes. Here's the twist. Silence isn't just about not talking. It's about having the power to speak and choosing not to. It's the pause before the move, the moment of eye contact that lingers. The space you give her to feel you, not just hear you. And that space? It's where the tension builds, where her curiosity blooms, where attraction deepens. You become the one she thinks about after the conversation ends. Not because you said the most, but because you said just enough. Comment, I master silence, if you've ever let your calm speak louder than your words. Stay close, we're just now getting into the emotional psychology that makes her choose you over boys every time. Number 6, he doesn't chase, and that drives her wild. Let's start with a truth most men don't want to hear. The moment you start chasing her, she stops feeling the need to chase you. Now, I get it, we're taught from a young age that men are supposed to pursue. Make the move, show interest, be proactive. But here's the twist most guys miss. Pursuit becomes unattractive when it lacks purpose, and worse, when it reeks of desperation. You see, most younger men don't pursue, they chase, and women feel the difference instantly. When a man chases, he gives off one message: I need you to choose me so I can feel like I'm enough. And trust me, she picks up on it. Even if you're saying all the right things, your energy tells her the truth. Now contrast that with the older man. He doesn't chase not because he's playing games, but because he's already full. He knows what he wants. He knows his worth. And he's not out here begging for anyone's attention. That kind of restraint, it creates space. And in that space, something powerful happens. She starts leaning in because she's not used to it. She's used to men blowing up her phone, liking every post, asking for attention constantly, suffocating her with validation before she's even made up her mind. But this man, he doesn't rush, he doesn't hover. He gives her the freedom to choose him, and that freedom is intoxicating. Let's dive deeper. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to get because your life is already rich and full. A Stoic man doesn't chase, he attracts. He focuses on becoming the kind of man women want to follow, not through pressure, but through presence, not through force, but through alignment. And here's where the attraction builds. Because when a woman senses that you're not waiting on her, that you're moving through your day, focused, fulfilled, unbothered. She starts to feel something she didn't expect. Desire. Not just physical desire, but emotional curiosity. Why isn't he chasing me? Is he not into me? What's going on in his world that makes him this composed? That's when she starts replaying your conversations. That's when she starts noticing the way you carry yourself. That's when she starts chasing you quietly at first, but it builds. Now, let me make one thing clear. Not chasing doesn't mean ignoring. It means staying grounded. It means showing interest without losing self-respect. It means offering connection and then letting her meet you halfway. This energy is subtle but powerful because it puts the responsibility back on her to engage, to follow up, to choose you. And when she does, she's not just invested, she's emotionally committed. Here's a real-life example. An older man meets a younger woman at a social event. They talk, there's chemistry. He compliments her once, with intention. Then he walks away. No follow-up texts that night. No heart emojis. No, just thinking of you, nonsense. And what does she do? She starts looking for him. She checks his social media. She wonders why he didn't chase. And in that wondering, her desire grows. Because he disrupted her pattern. He didn't give her the same validation she gets from everyone else. He gave her respectful distance. He gave her time to feel. And in doing that, he flipped the script. So, what does this mean for you? It means you stop giving away energy to women who haven't earned it. You stop trying to prove your worth, and instead you live in your worth. A man who doesn't chase isn't passive. He's just not needy. He builds the life he wants. He stays open, but not desperate. And if someone wants in, they know where to find him. Comment, I attract naturally if you're done chasing and ready to be the one she notices without effort. Stay close. What's coming next shows you why your emotional stability might be the most irresistible thing you own. Number 7. He's in control of his money and emotions. Let's be honest, nothing turns a woman off faster than chaos. Especially financial chaos. Emotional chaos. Life chaos. And let's be even more real. Most younger guys, they're a walking mess of all three. One week they're living on impulse, splurging on things to impress her, oversharing their every feeling, then spiraling into confusion when she pulls away. But an older man, he's been through that phase and left it behind. Now, he walks in calm, clear, collected, and that changes everything. Let's talk about money first. It's not about being rich. It's about being responsible. A man in control of his finances isn't just attractive because he can afford things. He's attractive because it shows discipline. It shows he knows how to delay gratification. It shows he's building something, not just spending to be seen. Women pick up on this fast. She notices the way he handles the bill. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't brag. He just takes care of it. Not because he's trying to prove something, but because that's just who he is. And that energy, it says, I've got me handled. You don't have to worry. And for a woman who's tired of dating guys who borrow money, who are in debt, who get defensive the minute finances come up, this is a breath of fresh air. Now, let's shift to emotional control. This is where the real power is. Most younger guys, they're emotional bombs. They get offended easily. They panic when they don't get a text back. They argue over little things, trying to win. Why? Because they haven't learned to regulate themselves. They haven't faced their triggers. They haven't sat in silence long enough to build inner strength. But the older man, he's been through loss. He's been rejected. He's failed and risen again. And all of that experience has given him something priceless. Emotional composure. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't explode. He doesn't need to be right, he needs to be in peace. And when she sees that, she starts to feel safe. Not just physically, but emotionally. She knows she can bring her full self, even the messy parts. And he won't crumble. He won't shut down. He'll hold space like a mountain, not a matchstick. That calmness, that groundedness, it's rare. And it's ridiculously attractive. Now here's where it gets even deeper. Control of money and control of emotions go hand in hand. They both come from the same root, self-mastery. It's the ability to pause before reacting, to think long-term, to invest in what matters, not chase shiny distractions. And that's where Stoicism hits hard. A Stoic man isn't controlled by his impulses. He doesn't chase pleasure, he pursues purpose. He doesn't swing with every mood, he watches his emotions like clouds passing by. And when a woman sees that, she stops testing, she starts trusting. And in that trust, attraction multiplies. Because now she knows, this isn't a boy with mood swings. This isn't a man who'll collapse when things get hard. This is a man she can build with, because he's already built himself. So if you're working on your finances, keep going. If you're learning to regulate your emotions, stay the course. You don't need to be perfect. But the more control you build over your inner and outer world, the more women will feel pulled toward your presence. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because they feel safe enough to relax around you. And when a woman feels safe, respected, and emotionally seen, everything changes. Comment, I lead myself, if you're becoming the man who owns his emotions and his finances. And keep watching. What's coming next will show you how your very presence becomes unforgettable. Number 8. He's not afraid to say no. Most guys don't realize this, but one of the sexiest things a man can say to a woman is no. Not with anger, not with attitude, just calm, certain, final. And suddenly, she sees you differently. See, most men, especially younger ones, live in fear of losing her approval. So they say yes to everything. Yes to plans they don't want. Yes to drama they didn't create. Yes to pressure that chips away at their identity. But an older man, one who's grown into himself, he says no, because he's already made peace with the idea of disappointing people. And that's where his power comes from. Let's be clear. This isn't about being difficult. It's about being defined. A man who can say no shows that he values his time, his boundaries, his energy. He doesn't fold just because she pouts. He doesn't explain himself 10 times. He doesn't over-apologize for not complying. And you know what happens when he does that? She respects him more. Why? Because deep down, women don't want a doormat. They want a man with spine, with self-respect, with standards. She wants to know you'll say no to her when it matters, that you won't sacrifice your peace for temporary pleasure, that if she crosses a line even unintentionally, you'll call it out with composure. Because a man who can't say no, can't lead, can't protect, can't be trusted. He's too busy chasing approval to ever hold a true boundary. Now let's zoom out. Saying no is bigger than just relationships. It's a Stoic virtue. It's the refusal to be ruled by emotion, to pause, to choose, to act on values, not cravings. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Saying no is proof that you understand that power. It's the art of choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a centered one. And here's the twist. The more you say no to things that drain you, the more space you create for what genuinely aligns with you. And that alignment, it makes you magnetic. Because now, every yes you do give, it means something. She knows you're not just agreeing to keep the peace. You're choosing her consciously, intentionally, willingly. That's rare. And that's attractive. Here's a real-world moment. She asks if you want to go to a party. You're tired. You've had a long week. You pause, smile, and say, "Not tonight. I'm staying in to recharge." But have fun. No guilt, no drama, just clarity. And what does she feel? Safe, challenged, turned on. Because now she knows you don't bend to pressure. You lead yourself. And that means, in the long run, you can lead with her, not just for her. So the next time you're tempted to say yes just to please, don't. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this aligned with my values, my energy, my peace? And if the answer is no, say it. Firmly, calmly, lovingly. Because every no rooted in self-respect builds the kind of masculine presence women crave but rarely experience. Comment, I stand firm. If you know how powerful it is to say no without fear. Stick around, the next part goes even deeper into what makes older men truly unforgettable. Number 9. She thinks he's experienced everywhere. Let's get real. When a younger woman looks at an older man, there's one thought that slips into her mind, even if she never says it out loud. He probably knows what he's doing in every way. And no, we're not just talking about the bedroom, although let's not pretend that isn't part of it. We're talking about presence, touch, tone, timing, the way he listens, the way he looks at her not with hunger but with understanding, the way he doesn't rush, doesn't fumble, doesn't try too hard. That air of experience, it's magnetic. Because here's the thing most younger men don't get. It's not about being wild or flashy. It's about being aware. An experienced man pays attention to the little things. He notices when she's off without needing an explanation. He touches with intention, not just to take, but to connect. He understands rhythm. He reads the room. He knows when to lead and when to let go. And that kind of sensitivity, it drives her wild. Why? Because it tells her one thing loud and clear. You're with someone who's been here before and knows how to take you deeper. Now, this isn't something you fake. It's not about lines, tricks, or YouTube tutorials. This kind of energy comes from lived experience, from years of paying attention, from not being distracted by ego. And that's what separates a boy from a man. The younger guy might have the energy, the ambition, the charm, but the older man has depth. And depth is what lingers in her mind long after the night ends. Let's go even deeper. This belief that he's experienced taps into something primal. Because with experience comes safety. Not just emotional safety, but physical and sensual safety. She doesn't have to worry about being objectified. She doesn't have to play games to keep his interest. She doesn't have to explain her needs because he's already fluent in nuance. This is what experience creates. It creates confidence without cockiness, generosity without neediness, presence without pressure. She imagines what it's like to be close to him, to trust his hands, to lose track of time, to feel understood in ways that words don't even touch. And even if they haven't gotten physical yet, that thought alone makes her heart race. Because she's not just attracted to his looks, she's drawn to what he knows, to what he's learned, to what he carries in silence. Now here's a Stoic layer to this. Experience also means knowing yourself, knowing your limits, your triggers, your desires, your values. And that self-awareness, it bleeds into every interaction. She feels it in your eye contact, in your laugh, in the way you guide her across a street or through a crowd. It's the kind of presence that says, I've been through fire, I've made mistakes, and I've learned how to love with strength, not fear. And that's rare. So if you're an older man, never underestimate how much your experience speaks without words. She sees it, she imagines it, and deep down, she hopes she gets to feel it. Comment, I move with mastery. If you know that experience isn't just sexy, it's spiritual. And stay tuned, the final insight shows how all of this builds into something she never forgets. Number 10. He makes her feel like a woman. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Most women don't just want a man. They want to feel like a woman in his presence. Not just looked at, not just talked to, but felt, seen, drawn out. And older men, they know how to do that without even trying. Why? Because they don't compete with her. They don't try to outshine her, match her energy, or outtalk her. They let her be soft because they're solid. They let her express because they don't flinch. They give her space not to pull away, but to expand. And that's what she craves most. See, a woman blossoms around masculine presence. It's not about dominance, it's about direction. Not about control, but consistency. An older man makes her feel like a woman because he invites her into a different rhythm. Slower, deeper, calmer. He doesn't rush her. He doesn't expect her to perform. He just holds the moment. And in that stillness, she relaxes. She breathes. She feels. She feels beautiful not because he says it, but because of how he looks at her. She feels desirable not because he touches her, but because of how intentional his energy is. She feels safe not because he promises, but because his vibe proves it. And that's rare. Most younger men, they want attention, validation, or quick access. But an older man, he wants connection, flow, surrender not to control her, but to honor the polarity. And the Stoic edge makes it even more magnetic. A Stoic man is anchored. He isn't reactive. He doesn't need her to be different for him to stay present. That's powerful. That's masculine. And that's exactly why she melts around him. Because suddenly, she gets to just be. She doesn't need to act strong. She doesn't need to lead. She can rest in the beauty of her feminine, because she knows the masculine beside her won't waver. It's in the small things. The way he opens the door. The way he walks slightly in front, not to dominate, but to protect. The way he listens not to fix, but to understand. All of it says, you can exhale now. And when a woman exhales around a man, that's when the magic happens. So no, he doesn't try to make her feel like a woman. He simply is a man, fully, calmly, unapologetically. And that presence alone transforms how she sees herself. So now you know, it's not about flashy looks, it's not about chasing, and it's definitely not about playing games. It's about presence, control, maturity, stillness, the kind of energy that doesn't beg for attention, because it naturally commands it. If you've made it this far, you already feel it. You're not just any man. You're building yourself into the kind of man who reminds her of what real masculinity feels like. So don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this is just the beginning. Thanks for watching, brother. I'll see you tomorrow.